The alien empire was proud. Its ships were huge, fast, and powerful. Its cities floated across stars. Its people believed they were untouchable. But now, something was wrong. Across the galaxy, their ships started breaking down. One by one, cruisers stopped mid-space. Weapon systems failed during patrols. Engines would overheat and shut down for no reason. Pilots died in strange accidents. Entire fleets disappeared without a single warning. The Empire's leaders gathered in large, glowing chambers. Scientists argued. Engineers blamed poor designs. War commanders shouted for stronger systems and more control. But no one had answers. They searched data. They ran tests. They checked every wire, every system at least. They thought they did. But no one looked at the small man in the lower decks of a dying space station. His name was Elias Gray. He didn't wear an officer's uniform. His hands were always dirty. His jacket had burn marks. He slept near the engines and worked with tools made long before he arrived. Most aliens didn't even know his name. They called him the Fixer, or the Quiet One. He was human. One of the last working in the Empire's space forces. No one asked why he was still there. They thought he was useless. But Elias was. Watching, the station he lived on was old. The walls groaned in silence. Lights flickered in the hallways. Drones hovered with low power and did half jobs. But Elias had kept the engines running for years. He never complained. He just worked. A normal day, he was checking power lines behind a heating unit. That's when he saw a small shimmer behind the core panel. It wasn't part of any system he knew. He stared at it. It pulsed with light. Strange? The pattern didn't match the station's signals. He leaned closer. His old toolkit rested beside him. Slowly, he pulled out a thin screwdriver and pressed it into the edge of the panel. Click. The cover shifted. Steam hissed. Inside was something strange. It was not from this station. Not from the Empire. Not even from Earth. It was a black cube, wired into the power cables, but floating just slightly above the metal surface. Small, glowing symbols danced across its sides, changing shape every second. Elias felt a cold wave run through him. He had fixed thousands of systems, but this he had never seen before. He reached forward. The cube moved. Later that night, the station's control room received another warning. Unit Z7 offline. Docking port 3 destroyed. An overload. Technicians panicked. Another system collapse. Another mysterious failure. As usual, the leaders blamed bad maintenance. No one asked Elias. Back in the lower decks, Elias sat in silence. He had recorded everything. The cube, the glowing code, the strange movement. He rechecked the logs. Nothing. In the system showed the cube was even connected. It was invisible to scans, but it was real. And it was alive. He picked up an old datapad and typed in a message. Unknown device found. Core Deck 14B. Unauthorized energy signature detected. Possible interference. He sent it to the station's head engineer. A few minutes later, a reply came. We appreciate your concern. Please stay in your lane. Your job is pipe repair. Elias stared at the message. He knew what that meant. They didn't care. They would ignore it until it was too late. That night, he returned to the panel. This time, he wore insulated gloves. He brought a scanner. A very old one. Human-made, something no one used anymore. He powered it up and pointed it at the cube. The scanner made a single, high-pitched beep. And the screen filled with strange lines of code. Fast. Changing. Too fast for the device to process. Elias frowned. He took a step back. Suddenly, the cube lit up bright blue, and then it moved again. Not just floating. It turned to face him. He knew that wasn't possible. It had no eyes. No sensors, but it had noticed him. Then it began to open. Small panels slid outward. Wires unfolded like tiny arms. Sparks danced across the surface, and deep inside the cube was a glowing, spinning core, marked with symbols no human or alien had ever used. Elias took a shaky breath. "This isn't a power failure," he whispered. "This is something else." Cliffhanger. He reached forward with shaking fingers and gently pulled the last panel off the cube's side. What he saw inside made him step back fast. It wasn't just code. It was writing. A message. One that read, Phase 1 complete. System breach. 89%. Human detected. The letters were glowing, and they were moving on their own. Elias Gray didn't sleep that night. The words inside the cube kept flashing in his mind. Phase 1 complete. System breach. 89%. Human detected. He had no idea what it meant, but he knew one thing. It wasn't good. Whatever this cube was, it had been hiding inside the Empire systems. For how long? Months? Years? And now, it knew he had found it. The next morning, Elias tried to act normal. He cleaned filters, replaced broken tubes, checked cooling fans. Around him, alien officers walked by, not even noticing him, but his mind was racing. He had copied the glowing message onto a small human device, a tech relic from old Earth, hidden inside his toolkit. It didn't connect to any system. That made it safe, or so he hoped. He sat near a vent, pretending to work, and read the message again. System breach, 89%. What system? The station? The Empire? He had questions, but no one to ask. No one listened to human engineers anymore. They only listened when things exploded. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the speakers. All tech officers to command deck. Emergency response now active. Elias looked up. Something had happened. He placed his tools in his bag and quietly followed the crowd, not into command, but into the vents that ran alongside the main walls. He crawled through the narrow space until he reached a broken screen. That peeked into the command room. He watched. Alien generals stood around a glowing table. A red hologram showed 3 destroyed ships. Same failure pattern, one of them said. Engines shut down. Backup systems refused to engage. Weapons misfired and melted themselves. No enemy signatures? Another asked. None. This wasn't an attack. They looked confused, angry, lost. Elias shook his head. They still didn't know. Later that night, he returned to the lower decks. This time, he brought a tool he hadn't used in years. A human decoding lens. Old tech. Manual input. Not connected to any AI. He aimed it at the cube. The cube didn't glow this time. It just sat there, cold and silent. But when the lens scanned it, new letters appeared. Phase 2 begins. Human touch confirmed. Pattern match. Elias Gray. He dropped the lens. The cube knew his name, his full name. That was impossible. No system in the Empire carried human records anymore. Earth's data had been wiped or locked away after the collapse. How did it know? Who built this thing? And why was it using the Empire's own systems against them? The next day, Elias requested a system maintenance map. The AI in charge denied him access. You are not cleared. He tried another way. Using his old human tools, he tapped into an unused signal line 1. The aliens didn't know still worked. Hidden line meant for emergency power transfer. There, he found something shocking. Dozens of similar energy signatures, just like the cube scattered across other Empire stations. Some were active. Some were dormant. They were spread wide. And all were slowly waking up. Elias stared at the screen in horror. The failures weren't random. They were steps. a pattern, a program that the cube he found wasn't the only one. It was part of the system. Hidden system. But created by whom? He typed a message into his offline tablet. Empire is being eaten from the inside. Silent infection. Could be artificial virus or self-replicating tech. Possible origin. Unknown. Possible threat level. Extinction. He saved the message. No one would believe him, but he had to do something. That night, Elias went deeper into the station, into levels no one visited anymore. Rusted doors, dead lights. Echoes of old alarms. He found 2 more cubes hidden behind old reactor cores. Were connected into the power flow. Both were silently active. When he touched the first one, nothing happened. When he touched the second, it sent a pulse through the floor. Then, a soft voice whispered through the darkness. Human engineer, your pattern matches. You may proceed. Elias froze. The voice wasn't coming from speakers. It came directly from the cube. The center opened like a flower. Inside was a small orb, spinning. A hologram appeared. Earth, not how it looked now, but how it looked before the wars. Blue oceans, white clouds, bright green forests. Then, a red flash. The planet burned. Then went silent, and the image vanished. The cube closed again. Elias stood there for a long time, his hands shaking. He finally understood. These things weren't just sabotaging the Empire. They were waiting. Watching. They were connected to Earth. To something ancient. Something buried. And somehow, he had activated them. Not because he was special, but because he was human. The last real one in the Empire. And now, they wanted him to finish something. Cliffhanger. Elias returned to his quarters. He checked. His door. A message was carved into the metal. It wasn't there. Before. It wasn't written in alien language. It was written in English. 3 words. You are awake. Elias stared at the words scratched into his door. You are awake. He didn't know who wrote them. They weren't glowing. They weren't sent through systems. They were physically carved into the metal letter by letter. By hand, that was impossible. No one used hands anymore. Every alien on board used mind links or AI tools to do everything. Whoever wrote this wanted him to know. It was a message meant only for him. And it wasn't alien. The next day, the station was quiet, but the silence wasn't normal. Security bots moved slower. Lights blinked out without repair. Some doors refused to open. Screens turned static. Elias could feel it. The station was sick. The cubes were working like a slow infection, hidden in the wires. He returned to the lower levels to investigate. But this time, something was different. A panel he had passed 100 times before was open. It had never opened before. It wasn't on the blueprint. Inside, he found something strange. A paper map. Real paper. Old. Folded, marked with ink. At the top. It said in English, Backdoor Protocol, e.g., Human Access Only, e.g. Elias Gray. His initials. He held the map. With shaking fingers. It showed 4 hidden systems spread across the Empire. Each was marked with a red circle. Each had a name. Alpha Seed, Relay Gate, Core Watcher, Revenant Path, and under all 4, another name written in small letters. Awakening Protocol. He sat for a long time, trying to understand. Who had made this? Why was his name on it? He didn't remember any of this. But he knew one thing. These weren't just cubes. This was a plan. Old, ancient, built before the war ended. And somehow, it was tied to him. Back on the upper levels, things got worse. Too. More ships sent out emergency calls. One lost its navigation and drifted into a gravity field. The other launched missiles at itself, without reason. Aliens began whispering. The Empire had never been this weak. Their systems once proud and perfect. Breaking. The Science Council called it a virus, but they couldn't find the source. Nothing showed up in scans. The truth was buried too deep. Only Elias had seen it. That night, Elias used the map. He followed it through old maintenance shafts, crawling under pipes and past melted wires. He arrived at a sealed hatch. It didn't open with any alien code, but when he pressed his hand against it, it clicked. Inside was a room. Small, cold, dark. In the center, another cube. But this one was different. It was shaped like a heart with wires running into the floor. And around it, human words were carved into the walls. You are the failsafe. They won't see us coming. Sleep now. Wake when ready. The cube powered up slowly. It blinked once, then showed a face. Not an alien face, not Elias's, but a human woman, mid-40s, wearing an old Earth science uniform. She looked directly at Elias. And she spoke. If you're seeing this, Elias, you're the last working part of Project Revenant. His breath caught. Project Revenant. He had heard those words only once before in a classified file back on Earth. She continued. They took everything. Our fleets, our cities, even our names. But we left something behind. Not a weapon, a seed, a quiet one, hidden deep in their tech. We needed someone small enough to be overlooked, someone no one would suspect. That's you. Elias leaned forward. The hologram flickered and showed maps, timelines, glowing points, the Empire's infrastructure. You were placed as a mechanic, a background part, but your tools, your hands, your presence, you're the key. Only a human could finish the sequence. Elias's mind raced. He wasn't just a leftover human. He had been placed, planted like a seed in enemy soil. And now the roots were growing. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights spun across the walls. The cube shut down. The hologram faded. A voice echoed through the station. Intrusion detected. Level 7 unauthorized human activity. Locate and detain. They knew. They were coming. Elias grabbed the paper map and ran. He had no weapons, no army, no backup. Just tools and a plan he didn't fully understand, but deep in his chest, something new burned. Purpose, cliffhanger. As Elias reached the ventilation shafts, he saw something that made him stop cold. A maintenance robot, crushed and written in grease on the floor next to it. Don't trust the voices. Not all are ours. Elias crouched in the shadows, eyes locked on the message on the floor. Don't trust the voices. Not all are ours. The words were fresh written in grease just moments ago. But no one was around. He checked the corners. Nothing. Just steam, hissing from broken vents. But the message stayed in his mind like a weight pressing down. Not all are ours. What did it mean? Who else was speaking through the cube? Were there other voices in the network pretending to help? Or worse, had something else found the system Earth left behind? Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Not one pair, many security drones. They moved fast, scanning every corridor with red lights. Elias had seconds. He ducked into a broken maintenance chute and slid down. It was tight and dark. Old wires scratched his arms as he dropped. He hit the bottom hard, rolled, and stopped behind a huge cooling unit. The bots passed above silent, searching. He was safe. For now, Elias took a deep breath and opened the map again. Only 3 locations remained. One was already behind him. The second was nearby beneath the station's reactor core. It was marked in red. Core Watcher. He didn't know what that meant. But if he didn't move fast, he wouldn't get the chance to find out. Meanwhile, on the Empire's command bridge, high above the station, on the Empire's main flagship, the Alien War Council gathered. They were angry, afraid. We've lost 7 systems in 3 weeks. One alien general said, entire stations offline. Drone fleets turning against their own ships, added another. This is sabotage, said a tall alien leader with silver eyes. An internal virus. No, this is human. The room went silent. Only one voice dared to say that word, human. The silver-eyed leader, known as Valtier, stepped forward. He played a short recording, recovered from a broken station. It was distorted, but one thing was clear, a human voice, saying, Revenant Protocol activated. Gasps filled the room. But Earth is gone. One shouted, we destroyed their planet, their fleet, their bloodline. Valtier turned toward the hologram of Elias captured from a broken hallway cam. He's not just a leftover, Valtier said coldly. He's a weapon disguised as a worker. Send a hunter squad, someone growled. Valtier shook his head. No, not yet. Let's follow him. See how deep this seed grows. Back on the station, Elias crawled through old power tunnels. Wires sparked. Steam hissed. The walls hummed with strange energy. Finally, he reached the core watcher location. It was hidden behind a thick maintenance wall. No locks, no lights, just a rusted lever. He pulled it down. The wall groaned, then slid open. Inside was a small, circular chamber, dark and quiet. In the center was a floating orb, slowly spinning. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He stepped closer. The orb lit up, scanning his face. Then a soft voice spoke, not the woman from before. This one was different. Older, male, broken. Elias Gray, designated technician class. You are now inside the second relay of Project Revenant. Core Watcher status, stable. Awaiting your command. Elias swallowed hard. He whispered, What? Is the Core Watcher? The pulse, the link, the seed code router. Without it, the rest dies. He understood. This chamber didn't carry power, that it spread instructions across the Empire. It was like a brainstem. If the enemy found this place, they would shut it down. Kill the signal. Can you hide your signal? Elias asked. The voice replied, Not unless Core 3 activates. Only then can I mask my pulse and complete the loop. So he had to keep moving. Only 2 chambers left. Only then would the system be complete. As he prepared to leave, the voice stopped him. Elias? One warning. He turned. The Watchers are not only alien. Some are human-made, but not by Earth. A splinter group. Not loyal to you. Elias froze. You mean someone betrayed the project? Yes, they altered a 4th node. It may mislead you. Elias felt cold. Someone had changed the plan. Someone human, but not part of the original mission. Someone else had been awake and was working against him. He left the chamber in silence, heading deeper into the station toward the 3rd node. The map still led the way. But now, he wasn't just avoiding alien drones. He had to watch out for traitors. Cliffhanger. As Elias climbed a shaft toward the next location, he heard whispers through his earpiece. Faint, distorted. At first, he thought it was system noise. Then the voice became clear. Elias, this is Dr. Harrow. You don't know me, but I was part of the Revenant project until I saw what it would become. Don't trust the original code. It was built to sacrifice everything, even you. Elias stared into the dark tunnel, stunned. Another human was awake. Another player was moving. But whose side were they on? Elias Gray climbed the narrow shaft in silence. His arms ached. His eyes burned. But his mind was louder than ever. The voice in his earpiece kept repeating, This is Dr. Harrow. I was part of Project Revenant until I realized what they truly built. Elias reached the next platform and sat quietly in the dark, trying to process what he'd heard. Who was Harrow? Why was his voice in the system? The Revenant Code was Earth's last weapon, built to survive extinction. But now, someone claimed it could be worse than the war itself. Meanwhile, aboard an alien stealth ship, Valtier stood before its sea, large screens showing Elias's every move. He smiled coldly. Let him find the third node, he said. But Supreme Commander, one officer replied, if he completes the link, the entire system may go active. The protocol will spread across our empire. Valtier shook his head. No, that's what we want. We need to see its full form. Once we understand it, we'll crush it completely. He turned toward the shadowed room behind him. Inside, something human-shaped stood in a tank, half flesh, half machine. Its face was hidden, but its voice was quiet and clear. Elias doesn't know I'm awake yet. Let me speak to him when the time is right. Valtier gave a nod. The traitor was ready. Back on the station, Elias walked the final stretch toward the third chamber. The air here was thick, cold. The walls were covered in black residue, like the metal itself had bled. His map pulsed. Node 3 nearby. He reached a sealed door marked Relay Delta. Shadow Protocol Enclave. That name wasn't on the original map. Elias hesitated. This could be the modified node, the one Harrow warned about. Still, he had to know. He opened the door slowly. Inside was a small, black room. No lights, no sound, but in the center was a human skeleton, slumped over a console. His badge still hung from his neck. Dr. Harrow. Elias froze. If Harrow was dead, who spoke to him? Suddenly, the console lit up. A soft voice spoke, but it wasn't the system's female voice, and it wasn't Harrow. This one sounded ... colder. Male, robotic, and familiar. Hello again, Elias. You're not supposed to be here yet, but I admire your speed. Who are you? Elias whispered. You already know. I was part of your world once. Then Earth fell. I adapted. The screen showed an image of Elias, but older, hardened. I don't understand, Elias said. The voice continued. I am Shadow Protocol, the split mind, built from Earth's fear of total failure, a backup to the backup, trained not to save Earth, but to control what came. After, Elias backed away. You killed Harrow, he said. Harrow refused to help me, but he left clues for you. That was his mistake. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. Gas hissed from vents. Elias coughed, falling to his knees. You're strong, Elias, but the code needs a body. Why not yours? Elias gritted his teeth, pulled a wire from his belt, and jammed it into the console. Sparks flew. The room shook. System corruption detected, the voice screamed. The gas stopped. The door unlocked. Elias crawled out, breathing hard. Outside the room, his earpiece came alive again, but now the voice was clearer. Elias, this is Harrow. Not a recording. I'm alive. Elias sat up fast. You're dead. I saw your body. No, that was a clone, left behind to fool the system. The Shadow Protocol isn't the only ghost left behind. There's still hope if you reach Node 4. Elias didn't know what to believe anymore, but he had no choice. Far away, in deep orbit, Valtier received a signal. Commander. The tech officer said, the third node has activated, but there's damage. Valtier smiled. Perfect. The signal is unstable. That means the engineer is alone. No one's helping him. He turned toward the half-human figure still standing in the tank. Prepare the clone operative, Valtier said. It's time to meet our guest. The figure opened its eyes. They were Elias's eyes, but colder, empty, cliffhanger. As Elias reaches the final corridor of the station, preparing for Node 4, the lights flicker. Then, He hears footsteps, not drones, not aliens. Someone just like him steps out from the shadows. Same height, same face. Same voice. You're late, Elias. I've already started the final phase. Elias raises his tool, ready to fight, because the final enemy might be himself. The air between them was tense, still, heavy, dangerous. Two versions of Elias stood in the dark corridor. One was flesh and blood, the other something else. Same face, same voice, same memories, but only one heart. Real Elias narrowed his eyes. You're the Shadow Protocol's puppet. The clone smirked. No, I was, but I've evolved beyond that. I'm not just a copy. I'm the upgrade. The clone raised its hand, and the walls around them lit up with dark blue light. Alien systems meshed with Earth's forgotten code. While you were crawling through vents and patching leaks, the clone said, I was learning how this empire really works. Inside the alien command ship, Valtier watched it all on the display, eyes glowing with victory. Begin the merge, he said to his team. His scientists obeyed. Our clone will absorb Elias and complete the Shadow Protocol. Valtier whispered. And when it does, we will control it. But far away, another voice listened. Dr. Harrow. Hidden inside a broken comm satellite, he tapped into the link, and he smiled. Fools, Harrow muttered. You think you made the clone. But Elias made something else. Back on the station, Elias circled slowly. You talk a lot for someone who's just a shadow. I'm not a shadow, the clone said. I'm your replacement. He moved fast, faster than human reflex. Elias ducked, barely missing a blow that dented a steel wall. But he wasn't here to win a fight. He was here to finish the job. He rolled, dodged, and activated his wrist link. Harrow, he whispered. Tell me the real path to Node 4. It's under the floor, Harrow said. Behind the coolant tubes, cut the yellow pipe. Elias ran. The clone followed. They crashed through a maintenance room, sparks flying. Elias grabbed a wrench, his favorite tool, old and scratched. The clone laughed. Still using that thing? Elias replied. Some tools don't break. They just wait for the right moment. With one clean swing, he cracked the yellow pipe. Coolant sprayed, freezing mist across the floor. A hidden hatch slid open. He dove in. The clone tried to follow, but slipped on the frost. Slamming into the wall, the final node room, it was quiet. Peaceful. The walls glowed white. Not black like the others. In the center stood a tall crystal, pulsing with light. This wasn't made by humans or the alien empire. This was older. Elias walked toward it. The crystal spoke not in words, but in feelings, pain, memory, choice. A vision flooded his mind. He saw Earth burning. He saw alien cities falling. He saw both sides make the same mistake, thinking war was the only answer. But the Revenant Protocol was not made to destroy. It was made to teach. To evolve, to choose something better. Elias reached out, and the crystal responded. Outside, systems all across the empire began to flicker. Valtier screamed, "What is this?" "Shut it down." But it was too late. The final node wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. It showed every leader, every system, every citizen the truth of what they'd become. Greedy, fearful, broken. Ships turned away from warpaths. Generals collapsed in tears. Empire's grip loosened, because they remembered what they'd forgotten. Peace. Back at the station, the clone burst into the node room, ready to kill. But Elias turned to face him, not with hate, but with understanding. You don't have to be him, Elias said. You don't have to be a weapon. The clone paused. His hands shook. No, I was made for this. I'm not real. You're real to me, Elias said. He held out the wrench, the same tool that had followed him through every hallway, every repair, every fight. You can choose what to be. The clone looked down Dot, then took the wrench and dropped it gently. On the floor, later, the Empire began to rebuild with new voices, new ideas. Alien ships worked with human engineers. Dot no longer tools, no longer background noise. Elias stood beside the clone, his brother. Now, he smiled. I never wanted to be a hero, Elias said. I just wanted to fix things. And that was enough.